Okay, so guys, if I lived in the target language country, would that change the way I study the language? And the question to answer is actually not. I would not change one bit, right? Because here's the thing, guys. I became fluent in Japanese completely in America. So I spent 2 years studying Japanese in America, and then once I became fluent in Japanese in terms of like comprehension, and I was able to sort of speak, I was not speaking at all the entire time. Like the moment I landed foot in Japan, like after 2 years of studying, that's when I suddenly started to become fluent in spoken language. So I was able to just like boom, 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 like speak. Like when a security guard would like come, like I was at the airport and I was like speaking Japanese, and I was like, when someone was like say something to me in Japanese, like I was able to respond to them back without me ever practicing output, without me ever practicing speaking, because I was just focused on comprehension. So like I guess it's like enough to say that I just became fluent like instantly the moment I landed in Japan, right? So and that's because when you understand enough of the language, right, and your comprehension is very high, you're you're going to be able to speak the language naturally. Like you're not going to be able, like, yes, you might make grammar mistakes, you might make some errors and stuff. It's not going to be perfect, but you get across what you want to say. What you want to say, you'll be able to get across. Okay, and that's the thing, guys. That's what's really crazy about Japanese. It's like because even like within the first year of Japanese, I still understood a lot of Japanese. By the way, like I was able to understand like even 90% of the language sometimes, but understanding 90% of the language is not enough for you to speak because there's that extra like 10% that you don't know, and that's a lot because that means you're missing like the meaning of like sentences like once every three sentences, like there might be something that you might not understand. That's what it means to understand 90%. So it's like you're still missing a big chunk of the language if you only understand the language 90%, even if it's 90%. So that's why it was like only until I reached 100% comprehension that I was able to speak. And the reason why that I wouldn't change my way of studying, even if I lived in Japan, right, and I was studying Japanese, was just because it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's the same process. You're gonna have to immerse yourself in the language, right? And immersion, what I mean is listening, not speaking. Like you're like, yes, you can maybe go and meet people and try to talk to people, and you can get your immersion that way. But it's better to just get your immersion from content, right? From input, from just listening and reading stuff, right? Because the thing with interacting with native speakers is that you're the one that's gonna have to output, right? And you're here not to practice output yet. You're here to understand the language. So like, maybe I would use output. Maybe I would speak with native speakers and interact with them in the country if I had to. Like if I was at a konbini store and I have to basically like order something or whatever, like then I'll order in Japanese. But like I wouldn't try to go out of my way in the country to talk to people, right? Like if I was learning Japanese. Now if I'm fluent, then it's a completely different story. If I'm fluent in Japanese, which means that I have already mastered the comprehension of Japanese in immersion, then I would do as much interaction as possible. Because now that I've mastered the kiso, which is the basics of Japanese, then when I actually go talk to the people in my target language, like I'm just developing my fluency in the language. So now, like at that point, it's a different stage, right? Now I'm out of the immersion stage and the comprehension stage. And now I'm like at the output stage, So at the output stage is the only like that's the stage where I would actually recommend you go to the country, you know. Like that's why I held back French for so long. When I was learning French, guys, like I was maintaining my French ability for like 4 years until I eventually decided to like go to France for the first time in like forever, like 10 years, and then start to speak French, right, to people. But I held back that output for so long. Like you guys don't understand. Like I became fluent in French in like around like 2020, right? So that was literally 4 years of just maintaining my French ability, or slightly. It was like slight improvements, right? Like I was still improving my French slightly, ever so slightly. But that's the thing, guys. Even like at 2020, like I was maintaining or slightly improving my French ability for that entire time, right? And I didn't do any spoken. I didn't speak it, but it was only until I went to France that I decided to, now let me like really go hardcore with interacting with people. But that's because I was already fluent. Now, if I was brand new to French and I had no immersion, no exposure to the French language, I didn't understand any of it. Even if I went to France, it wouldn't have it would have been meaningless because it's like I don't understand anything in the first place. And the only way I can understand more is doing what? By doing more immersion. So there's no point in me trying to interact with people. Because even if I do interact with people, I'm not gonna understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? So like it's not necessary to go to the country to actually learn the language. You can learn the language entirely like at your home country, okay? Like you can learn French entirely in America. And then once you become fluent in French, then go to France for like 3 months as in vacation, right? In the form of vacation, and just speak to as much people as possible, make as much friends as possible over there. Once you're fluent, though, that's only once you're fluent at like at comprehension, right? And then that'll also translate to fluency in output, which is speaking, right? And now when you go to France, which is what I did, like when I was in like in the summer this year, I'm just refining my output, my speaking ability. You know, I already have the basics, which is what? My competence of the language, which is my understanding. I already understood French like at 95%, 99%. So now that I went to France, guess what? I was able to naturally output. Even though I made some mistakes, parfois, like sometimes, right? I still was able to interact with people, and the more I interacted with these natives, the more I improved, you know? But you don't need to do this stage if you first haven't mastered comprehension first. So this is why, like, if I was to, so like, my next language is Arabic. Let's say I moved to Dubai, or like, I don't know, maybe I moved to Egypt, and I decided to learn Arabic. What I would do would not change. Like it wouldn't matter whether I moved to Egypt or stayed in America to learn Arabic, because I would have to do the same thing anyway, which is what? To increase my immersion, to increase my comprehension of the language. Now, maybe once I became fluent in Arabic, maybe once I was able to understand, Egyptian TV shows at like almost a 99% comprehension, once I arrived at that point, then it actually makes sense for me to go to Egypt and interact with people in Arabic, right? Because I'm actually fluent now. So now I'm just like refining my speaking skills, and it's a good way to meet people. And plus, like, when I interact with people, because I've already mastered the comprehension, I'm able to understand everything this person is saying to me. So all I need to focus on is how do I refine my speech? I don't have to worry about whether I can understand this person or not, because I'm already able to understand everything this person says. I just have to worry about what am I going to say back, right? And most of the time it's like supernatural. Like you're not going to even, like, sometimes you don't even have to think about what you have to say, and you'll be able to say back. It's weird. Like, that's the thing with language. So even if I, hypothetically speaking, I decided to move to Egypt and learn Arabic and like learn Arabic in Egypt, like, it wouldn't make any difference, because it's like I'll still be immersing. I'll still be like listening to Arabic, like, TV shows. I'll still be immersing myself, like, learning new vocabulary, increasing my immersion and comprehension. That, like, I wouldn't even matter if I was in Egypt or America, because I could do that thing in America. I could do immersion in America. I don't have to go to Egypt to, be. And it wouldn't also make any like there's no advantage, at least in the beginning stages of the language, which is basically where you know nothing. There's no advantage to going to the country to learn language. Now if you're already fluent, like I said, then, and you want to improve your output ability, then going to the country is a huge advantage, right? That's where I'm at with Japanese. With Japanese and French, like, going to the actual country is going to provide huge improvements in those languages. Why? Because I already have the base of comprehension. The only thing I'm lacking with these languages is just enough output. I just need to speak more, right? Like, I already have the basics. Like, I'm already able to read hard books. I'm already able to understand, like, everything people say. Now, what I need to do with these languages is to just achieve native level type pronunciation and maybe phrasing, like the way you phrase things, And the only way of doing that is by going to the country. So with the level of ability I'm at with these languages, going to the actual country would actually benefit me, But if I was learning another language from scratch, where I knew nothing, then going to the country wouldn't really benefit me with at all, because it's like I'm not gonna be able to understand anyone. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, if I were to move to the country, it wouldn't actually make a difference in my studying, right? I'll still be in my room watching content like 8 hours a day. You know, like it's not like, okay, suddenly like I'm going to now, like, because I'm in the country, I'm going to interact with people. It's like, no, well, I could already interact with people already. Like I could already learn through immersion. So that's why I don't see any point, in my opinion, to move to the country to learn a language, right? Because you can do that at home. Like it's very simple. We have the internet, so we can get exposure to the target language through media. You don't need to go to the country, and in fact, like I don't think you should, because it's like you don't need to do all the output. And sometimes, like if you output too early, like I don't know, you might ingrain some bad habits in terms of your speech, right? And even if you didn't ingrain bad habits, like why put in the effort to output? Like like when I learn Arabic, like I'm not even gonna bother speaking for the first like 2 years. Like when I learn Arabic, yeah, like you heard that. Like I'm not even gonna bother speaking because I know there's no point. There's no point in me speaking Arabic until I'm like already like 100% comprehension of TV shows. Like unless I can like until I can understand Arabic TV shows 100% comprehension, there is no point in me speaking Arabic. Like it's not gonna be useful, because like I said, like I mean I could try to like maneuver Arabic with my broken Arabic. I could try, but it's like, why put in all that work when all you need to focus on in the beginning is just increasing your comprehension? Like your comprehension of the language, is literally everything when it comes to your output, because that's what determines your output ability. If you can only read at a third grade level, how are you supposed to speak above that? You'll be capped at a third grade speaking level. If you want to be able to speak at a college level, you're going to learn how to read college material. So your competence, your basically input and comprehension of the language, is the hard ceiling of how good your speaking can get. So it only makes sense that if you want to be fluent in speaking, you need to first get fluent in comprehension. Because once you get fluent in comprehension, then the speaking will come naturally, right? And when you're actually fluent in comprehension, then that's when you can go to the country and actually speak to the people. That's the order at which it should be done.